Hello people, and welcome back to part 53 of Ilos modded Cities Skylines build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for all support last week. We had a ton of fun piecing together Bad Geezer, really liked this rural town. And then on the subsequent live stream, we also came in and introduced a little sort of old rundown alien gas station here. Courtesy of ASUS, he made us some custom gas station assets, which really lend into this just great theme of like rundown. Just so cool. Absolutely love this part of the city. Just, yeah, really happy with it. Big shout out to ASUS. Really appreciate all the assets, mate. Thank you so much for all of the support. However, today, the everlasting project it would seem of finishing Ilos continues. It's just more Margaret frames, there always is. So today, we're going to be filling this space with a stadium. But not just any sort of stadium, quite a unique stadium that is localized to Phoenix. So let's head to Google Earth and see what we're working with today. Okay everyone, so welcome to State Farm Stadium in the west of Glendale. So this thing will just sort of give some context as to where we are, okay? So we're sort of right on the edge of Glendale here, quite a significant distance from downtown Phoenix. But what this is State Farm Stadium. And it might be one of the most Phoenix builds. Look at all that car parking. There's so much of it. Of course, it's a stadium, right? It's kind of justified here. You know, there's a lot of people coming here. But it's kind of a weird Phoenix thing, right? It's surrounded by farms, by suburb that's in the process of being built. Sports complexes, ginormous outdoor malls that are just covered in car parking. We've already covered the outdoor mall vibe before, but you just get a sense of how much car parking there is in Phoenix. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. But either way, what we are taking inspiration from today is the positioning of the stadium. This cute little lawn out here as well that ties into the team. And then its positioning orientations. There's some nice sort of green belt here that comes against the arterial and actually follows the canal out of downtown here. And then this comes all the way through. There's a lot of pathways here. To get back into the car park. So there's lots of inspiration to be taken for positioning a stadium in this kind of fashion. And it should be a really fun project to convert into cities. So let's see what we can do with a State Farm inspired stadium in Cities Skylines. So first of all, we're working with a Margaret frame. Let's see exactly what's happening here. So we've got 84 by 100. So we're not quite perfect 100 by 100, but that's going to be okay. Sort of, you know, near the boneyard here. Not everything has to be perfect. So let's start drawing things out. So along the axis where we do have 100, let's find our halfway point. So that's going to be 50 right there. And then we wanted to half that again. We come down to 25, which is 23 there. Happy with 23. Again, you know, I'm not looking for bang on sort of split measurements for this. It's not going to be that important. So let's just draw this down by 20 for right now. Then we'll do the same thing again on this bottom one. So I want to find 50 this time. And we've got kind of a little sort of kink in the main road that comes up. So I think we're just going to draw them across like that. And then rather than factoring in the curve, we're going to kind of node control the curve in, if that makes sense. So let's grab node controller. And I just want to offset those curves a little bit. Not by too much, just to add a little bit of curvature into that sharpness. Got 19 there, 16. Let's go for 16 either side then. Keep it equidistant. So that's going to start helping divide my frames up. So in terms of the asset here, we did actually ask our patrons as to what asset they would prefer. Of course, there's many stadium assets in cities these days, but we did actually settle on the usage of the match day football stadium. So we are going to go for this one. We do already have significant stadiums in Ilos. I was going to use the American Varsity Sports one again for the football stadium, but we've already got one. We've also got aquatics and baseball. Not baseball, sorry, basketball, and then baseball in the downtown stadium. So I feel like now is a good point to get actual football in, or soccer for our Phoenix natives, of course. Okay, so I'm happy with that. But of course, positioning is everything, as always. So first of all, this has to be bobbed. Those horrendous palms are disgusting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the road configuration for the stadium itself. I'd like to find a 4-lane road if it's all possible. One of our American roads would be amazing here. Probably this one actually, the one with the yellow median is going to be great. Now the road network around sort of State Farm does something pretty random. It's a little bit of an awkward one to follow, so I think we're going to come out for like 15 units here. And then we're going to start curving up a little, tiny bit more straight. And then we go down to like a 2-lane road with the yellow dash. And then from this junction, it kind of meanders up and alongside. What we can use this road for is to hook all of our car parks into as well. And then we'll just have this meander around the back of the stadium. I wonder if we actually want to bring it back into this one. At which point hitting a road guideline might actually be quite helpful here. Why don't we try go for that? Let's see if we can hit it. Let's go for there. And then we'll go straight on. And then we'll come back into that junction. Cool. Okay, so again, this is going to be a very weird build. It's going to take a while to settle in, so please bear with this one, everyone, okay? Cool. So let's rotate our stadium around. Okay, so obviously it's going to be disconnected. We're going to have it side on. I want to make sure that we're positioned as best as possible as well. Okay, I'm happy with that. It's going to be really cool to see this develop. Like, I love the view from the boneyard here. Just having this kind of stadium rise out of the desert. I think that's really cool. I love that. I actually wonder that if the 2-lane country road is actually the best job for this one, because it isn't kind of a detailed road. It's just a regular sort of tarmac one, and I think this will do as a job. Let's bring it up and out here, and then we can create little points of walkability back and between these points here. And of course, it'll be surface painted in detail to help it all settle in. And then this corner over here, 100% wants a little bit of node control doing to it. So we can stretch everyone out. It's got a nice big one there. It's not offset our green friend though, okay? Maybe a little bit more square into everyone else as well. Okay. Cool, and it looks like we can possibly feed a car park road out of here as well. But that will at least allow us to maintain our connection for the stadium. Let's have a look at it from the power plant here as well. Yeah, just from all angles here, I really like the way the stadium just kind of like rises out of the desert, you know, especially from over here as well. Yeah. We got our baseball coming here. Oh, it makes it so much more funnier when there's people walking around it. Yeah. This kid, this kid's like, that guy does not look quite right. Oh, he's applauding them as well. Wonderful. He's dancing. A little dance. Aliens #1 fan. Oh, I forgot about all these in the bleachers as well. This is a great coven. It's fantastic. There's Jerry as well, of course, enjoying the game. God bless. Alright, anyway, let's not get distracted by Jerry covens. So, of course, the surrounds of State Farm are nothing but car parking in Phoenix, and we'll certainly bring that vibe home. I definitely want to bring a little bit of greenery into this space here, and there's a couple of sort of spaces I want to do it. One along this road here, so we have people walking back and two, although there's not vast amounts of reason for them to walk over to the boneyard. I can't see them ever walking over here, but we'll see what happens with it anyway. But I want to do some measuring to factor in that lawn that we saw in Google Earth. So we can see here that we have 51 units, let's just call it 50 for the sake of, just for easiness really. So we can come out to 20 units here, that would give us 10 units in the middle of the side, wouldn't it? So why don't we do 15 units like this, okay? Let's make sure we're at 15 units there, like we should be. Yep, 15 there, and then we'll do the same again on this side. Let's find 15 units. There we go. And that's pretty much going to be good for me, I think. That now gives us the angle, and then what I want to do again is just to remove a little bit of the harshness out of those curves, is to just node control those corners again. So let's go for 16 meters again. We'll maintain the same distances. And it just takes a sting out of it. That's something I picked up from watching Imperative's node controller. Just very sharp angles and then node control the angle, and it just smoothens it out into a really nice curve. Nice little way of using node control that. Cool, so I like that. Let's now give it a healthy dose of AstroTurf using our sand painter. Fill this in. Cool. So of course we're going to want to be pretty careful with how much this overlaps onto the opposite side of the road, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Cool. Well, that is a really nice aesthetic, isn't it? Let's go ahead now and get our car parking in. I'm really keen to see what this looks like in cities. So let's go ahead and grab the largest ones we have, the 58 meter poorly maintained. Let's bring them close up to the road. Probably about there. Can we bring them down by 30? Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Let's also do the same thing again over here. Leaving just a 4 tile between. And 30 again. And then we can use those poorly maintained service roads now to hook everything in if we want. Okay, we can come at different angles here. various different configurations. We can get all these together. Definitely up at the top here again too. And you could also feed it back onto the road here, but I'd rather people sort of come through the main entrances. And then with the decoration in the middle, there's great opportunities. Of course, in Phoenix, it's super concrete heavy. All of this is just black asphalt, like everywhere. But we don't have to do that in cities, and we can be a bit more creative and hopefully nicer. But we can do some concrete in between, which will really fill out those spaces for us. But look at that, right? That black asphalt look right up to the top of the stadium. I really appreciate that aesthetic, especially with the car park there as well. And we've got this lawn that we can get some. Pretty sure there's repeated juniper patterns in real life around this actually. And there's actually kind of like a billboard thing at the end of it too, which I think we know we might have our perfect asset for that. We can use this one here, the advertising pylon from the unit building. Yeah, there's kind of like a little thing that just sits at the end. We get away with that, and then we can tree line the outer edges. It's all things for our D10 talents anyway, isn't it? But I'm not averse to it. I think it's alright. So things are slowly coming together here. I'm pretty happy with this. So again, just glancing back to Google Earth and seeing how sort of State Farm sits within its space. I'm looking for some sort of logistics centre at least. It all seems to be underground at State Farm. There's definitely a lot of underground access around the stadium. So I think we can do something pretty fun with Industrial Road here. So this might be a little bit experimental. You're going to have to bear with me for a hot second. So I think if we grab some Industrial Road here, and then let's come off our guideline and we'll draw in a little stretch of it here, 5 either side I think. And then let's go for a curve tool, and then we're going to go for our tunnel. And then I'd like to curve it just around the sides of the stadium. And then let's just grab that node and move it, and then bring it down a little bit. So I just want it so everything's flush with the ground. And I'm hoping that this will give us kind of like a mock underground entrance to the stadium. And then hopefully once it's sort of surface painted in and, you know, we have decorations and detail around here, it should look a little bit more authentic, I think. Okay, so we'll see what happens with it. Of course, lots of surface paint around here. Let's get all that in now. It's very satisfying, isn't it? Filling in all that sand. Yes, please. There we go. Okay. I think you have like the concourse around here. You can see into maybe like the conference rooms and sort of emergency exits here and whatnot. And then there is just like a little sort of underground area here for logistics and whatnot. And they have like their own ventilation. I think the industrial road's going to be best for that. And then again, we can do the same thing around the other side again. What was that, a 4 curve was it this time? Let's see if we can do that one again. Let's grab that node. I don't think I hate that, okay? It's going to need blending in, so please bear with it, but it's definitely a vibe that we can bring in around the stadium. Alright. And I'm pretty happy. We could even hook this into a tunnel somewhere else as well and actually have trucks coming in and out of it. But I'm not sure where we would do that. We'd have to find somewhere for it to work. Okay, so let's continue the idea of making the desert green. So with this road here, in Phoenix, we're actually playing with a little bit of elevation, which I don't think I'm averse to having in here. If we just have one sort of road as an elevated bridge, and then we can do some fun terraforming work here, I think. So let's start sinking down. Let's go for that there. Is that going to be enough to clear head height? I hope it is. Let's find out together. Let's increase our brush strength. That'll be alright. No, maybe if you're a mouse you can probably squeeze under there, but probably not for many humans. So let's go ahead and lower it a little bit more. That should be alright, I think. There we go, seems a little bit more sensible, doesn't it? Cool, so this is going to give us some nice layers. Again, I don't want it to be too deep either, so let's make sure we're maintaining some sort of sensibleness. I think that's going to be okay, isn't it? Okay, a little underpass under the bridge there. And then we can do some sloping around here in a second. So there's just this little sort of sunken green belt that runs parallel with the arterial frames around State Farm. So it does actually factor into the canal, but of course we don't have our canals configured in this part of Ilos there, over here, somewhere nearby Main Street. So we can't really do that over here. And of course it's quite a lot of nodes as well. But I just want to sort of test this out. So let's dig out this ditch together, right? Scoop it all out with extra landscaping tools. Don't want to eat up too much room either, because we do want lots of car parking space here as well today for the aesthetic. Okay, I think I'm going to be pretty happy with that. And then it's just green, right? So I'm wondering if the AstroTurf or the fertile land is actually going to be the best shout for this. I'm not entirely sure. I guess we'll try a bit of both and see what happens. So that's going to be AstroTurf. Let's try fertile land. I do prefer fertile land here, I think. It has to be said, doesn't it? I think it's just much more natural green, I think, which is what it seems to be around State Farm. It doesn't look kind of too AstroTurfy, if you know what I mean. Why don't we go with that, okay? So I think classic vanilla pavement path is actually going to be the best shout for this. Let's make sure we're forcing down to ground, and then it just kind of meanders. There's also some nice little layers going on here as well that we can get involved in, so let's just have this going in a pretty snaky pattern, and then it can slowly embank up to the side of that corner again. That's going to be amazing. Let's go ahead and grab a straight road tool with a road length and angle snap on. And then from here, it looks like we can possibly come into a little bridge. Let's elevate up by a touch. Let's go for 7 meters, that should be great. We'll force back down to earth, and then this can just run back into the pathway, and then we can factor that into our car parks as well. Now, like I said, there's not a vast amount of reason for people to walk over here because the boneyard is basically just props. There's not, I mean, I guess there's unique buildings and whatnot for them to visit, so I guess they would sort of walk over there if they have the option. I don't know, it's all just about trial and error, isn't it? We're just going to have to see what the AI prefers to do here. So we could also go over like that. I think it might bring it up here too. It's going to need maybe knocking that car park back a little bit, but we'll see what happens with that, okay? Well, have fun, okay? I really like that. It's a nice way of using a little pathway there against a road. Sinking it down, adding in some layers. And I'm just going to drop in the occasional tree. Of course, we can't do too many because we're playing with fertile land, but I guess we could do lock forestry on because that would stop it from depleting the fertile soil. Maybe I think a real sparse tree belt through there is going to be really cool, isn't it? I love that. That's really nice. Really happy with that aesthetic, especially at the foot of the stadium here now as well. You can see the boneyard in the background there too. So I think now just to help judge the scale and the rest of the build, let's go ahead and time-lapse up the rest of the positioning of our main car parks just so we can envision exactly what's happening here, and then we can probably have a look at a detailing time-lapse as we come to detail up at the main stadium surrounds and concourse with kind of fan zones and props and pathways and bring it to life a little bit more. Yes, please. They're using the pathway. Who are you? Wait, don't go. Howard Graham is going to the football stadium, and Leighton Gray is also going to the football stadium as well. Fantastic. Wonderful. He's a partner at the metro station. What are you? A partner at the oil industry maintenance building. Well-paid jobs. Oh, there's another person too. Would you look at that? They're all walking to the stadium. Yes. Yes, walk. Fantastic. Fantastic. Overcharged Egg remains surprised as his walking pathways actually get use. Wonderful. Welcome to the stadium, one and all. All the old people are coming on. Maybe there's a bingo convention in town. Alright, but either way, looks like there's a match day coming up, isn't there? So let's go ahead and get the car parking in for that match day, and kind of a good point actually to see just how utilised all this car parking will be. So we'll be right back. Okay everyone, so we now have the world's biggest car park. This is by far, I think, the biggest car park in Ilos. You can see this from space. It's massive. It's more like let's build some car parks with a supplementary stadium, right? really is. It's sort of ridiculous. It's kind of a sort of a mockery of civilization, isn't it? But I do like the aesthetic of a massive car park or at the foot of a stadium like that, right? Of course, it's horrendous for the environment. Horrendous planning, of course, as well as just build a bus line, you know? Build a metro or something. Do you need this much car parking? It's insane. I think I did want to read that in Phoenix, of course, it's known for its abundance of car parks, that there is actually enough room for every car in Phoenix to park 4 times over and still have enough space left. Which is insane when you think about that, right? Really crazy. But either way, there is a match day on, which is fantastic. So of course you can see, definitely want to stop parking on these roads here. And lots of people making their way over now. And this feels like a good point for a detailing time lapse. We're going to detail up the front. I think what I am going to do is actually add in the fan zone park from the Concerts DLC. Just so there's more unique buildings over here. I want to keep drawing people to this place. Add lots of pathways here, so this space becomes walkable, because of course no one in the world would walk along the pavement here just to get down there. So this just needs, you know, something like this, and then what this will allow us to do is to have lots of open walkable sort of concrete concourse around the outside of the stadium, which look really cool. I want to drop in some sort of delivery and logistics assets here, some prop detailing, containers, trucks, etc. Around the back of the tunnels. Then also detail up our car parks as well, again referencing back to Google Earth to see that there is actually a little bit of pathway between each of the main car parks themselves, all leading down toward the stadium, so I'll definitely do that as well. And then tie up the edges of the build within the Margrid frames, and then just generally set it all in, get the tree patterns around here, and just let this build settle into Ilos a little bit more. I think the Margrid frame to the south, this isn't really a full frame here. So we'll probably do something fun with this on a live stream, I imagine. If not, I'm going to add in some more fields around it, because of course State Farm is surrounded by farms, ironically. Okay guys, I'm just having to stop the detailing review here, because oh my god, what the hell. Hordes, absolute hordes of old fans streaming down the Margrid frames to get to State Farm. Holy crap, what the hell? Why is there so many of them? I also don't like that they're all walking through the solar plant as well. I would much rather them just stay on the road. But either way, they are all crossing over the pathway. Yes, please, everyone. That's the busiest thing I've ever seen. Right? I had to show that off. Just crazy. Miles of fans all trekking from the Margrid out to State Farm. Very cool. Otherwise, let's detail up our State Farm inspired stadium build, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, so let's have a detailing review, shall we? This has turned into my favourite stadium build on the channel. This is a really cool complex, let's dive into it. So around our car parks we have dropped in exactly what we saw in Google Earth, this pathway, a kind of planter and bench pattern that sits between each of the major car park infrastructures, all leading toward the stadium of course. And then across the lawn, we've actually dropped in a vanilla walking pathway, but it's invisible. We deleted the texture off of it using the clip feature of Surface Painter. See here, as we remove it, it comes back and paint it off and it goes away again. So it adds us a little bit of walkability across the lawn. I also looked at Google Earth down in the street view, and the front part of this lawn here against the road is actually fenced off. I'm assuming to stop people parking on it off the main road, but yes, it is here. So again, taken from Google Earth. And then as we come toward the main stadium, let's head down towards this main road here. We arrive at some of our Ilos billboards. Of course, vote for the governor, beware of the aliens, and if you need a fence, then of course call Egg and Associates. Dropped in lots of toilets, lots of thunder boxes around here. And then also an In-N-Out burger as well, alongside some more billboards here, just kind of general advertising in and around the stadium space before we arrive at a couple of pubs and souvenir shops where you can buy merch, etc. Stop for a drink before the game perhaps. And then we head down into the stadium space where we got a lot of taxis coming through here, and as you can see, a lot of people as well. It's very, very busy. Also fused together some of these modern city centre assets because they have tickets for sale on here. So I wanted to create some little ticket offices just on the outskirts of the stadium. I think they're really cool. They've also got some more out here next to the metro as well, which now feeds into the fan zone, which is really nice and busy. A lot of old people coming into the fan zone, so maybe this definitely must be like a Jimmy Buffett concert, right? With all these old people knocking about here. Probably is. And then our stadium, we have more flags in the planters up here again as well. Lots of Ilos flags around. Now around the concrete space here, I did want to leave open concrete space because there is a lot of it in Phoenix. Which we have here, which you imagine is there just to handle the volumes of people that flood out back to the car park once the games are finished. So I did want to leave a little bit of that in. I've also dropped these props around as well. These are actually the sightseeing bus stops, but they kind of look like little information booths or like designating what number car park this is. Maybe this is car park A, the one next to it, car park B, C, etc. So I think I'm happy with that. I like these little use of the sightseeing props. They're really nice. And then we come across into the stadium, where we have some little rock gardens here. Didn't want to do the water jets, for that might be a bit too flamboyant. But then just these little walking pathways next to all this infrastructure over here. For some weird reason they're choosing to go around rather than across here. I'm not sure why that is. But yeah, there you go. There's someone coming across at least. Yeah, there you go. They do use it a little bit. Yeah, and then I was wrapped up with Surface Painter and pathway around the stadium before we come into the back delivery area where we have like a little custom aircon unit. Using some of the aircon props we have. Also thought it would be appropriate here for the stadium to have its own sort of police presence. So definitely want sort of a police station in and around the back area here. And then courtesy of Few Candy, she did leave us some news truck props based on her build. So it definitely seems appropriate for like a news sort of caster crew or sort of broadcasting firm to have a presence within the back of the stadium, of course, ready for broadcasting and presenting and whatnot. Maybe getting set up here with all the cameras, and we can definitely drop in an alien coven around here in our stream, perhaps. Really hope so. And then down into this little green belt. I love this. This is like my new favourite type of green belt, sort of overlapping, sunken and terraformed and green with trees. And really nice use of space between build and road. Again, inspired from what we see in State Farm. And you would have seen as well, as we interrupted the detail in time-lapse to showcase the insane walkability that this thing was receiving. It's yeah, just nothing else like it in Ilos. I've never seen so many people walk over towards the new stadium. Then around the edge here, again taking inspiration from what sits on the edge of State Farm, we just have some classic dry Ilos desert belt, and I love the aesthetic, right? Looking across that huge asphalt field into the stadium, it gives me a very realistic perspective. I'm a huge fan of using. Granted, it's a lot of car parking. There's no need for this much in cities, but of course we're referencing State Farm, so I wanted to bring that vibe in of a cute, really fun, detailed stadium complex that is surrounded by the sort of car park jungle that Phoenix is. But otherwise, guys, definitely one of the more unique and fun stadium builds that we've done on the channel. Insanely walkable and some great inspiration to take from Google Earth. There's so many different examples, variations of Stadium across the world, so definitely Google Earth is one of the better things to use when you're looking for Stadium inspiration. And I am glad that we've managed to get State Farm into Ilos before it ends, which again is getting closer every week now. Ilos' simulation and size is becoming increasingly more unstable every week. We are getting closer toward the end, slowly but surely. Which is always, I think it's kind of judged on a week-by-week basis now as to how stable the city is. But of course, big shout out to the community for helping support the save, Lance in particular, for all his work with Load Order Tool and getting everything set up and in a new mod set, so it's all nice and happy for the time being at least. Please do enjoy your cinematics, but otherwise I will shut up and leave it there. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.